fist drove into a girl's stomach and she folded against the side of a horse. The reins slipped from her hand. Boots crunched in the dirt behind her. A second blow caught her ribs. She did not cry out. She bit the inside of her cheek and tasted blood. The man grabbed a fistful of her hair and pulled her upright. Her bare feet scraped across gravel. He spoke close to her ear in words that were not meant kindly. She kept her eyes open. She watched the long drive. She watched the porch of the ranch house at the end of it. The door of that house opened. A tall man stepped out with a rifle in one hand and a lantern in the other. His name was Caleb Hart. What he did in the next 30 seconds changed 3 lives forever. "Stay with me on this one." The man holding her hair froze. The lantern light caught his face. He was a heavy man. Thick neck. Greasy hat. The kind of man who counts on being bigger than whoever he is hurting. Caleb Hart did not raise his voice. He did not raise the rifle either. He just kept walking down the porch steps. One slow step at a time. "Let her go." 3 words. Quiet. The man on the drive did not let go. "She's mine," he said. "Bought and paid for. You ain't got no business here." Caleb stopped about 10 feet away. He set the lantern down in the dirt. He raised the rifle. Not high. Not aimed at the head. Aimed at the belly. A belly shot at that range was not a warning. Both men knew it. "I said let her go." The man let her go. She dropped to her knees in the gravel. She did not look up. She did not move. She was trying to make herself small. "Walk back to your horse," Caleb said. "Get on it. Ride out. This ain't done. Walk." The man walked. He spat on the ground first. He climbed onto his horse with the slow, ugly pride of a man who is afraid and does not want to look it. He pointed at Caleb with 2 fingers. He said something about coming back. Caleb did not answer. He waited until the hoofbeats were gone past the fence line. He waited until the dust settled. Only then did he lower the rifle. He looked down at the girl. She had still not moved. "You hurt bad." She did not answer. "Can you stand?" She did not answer. He set the rifle against the porch post. He picked up the lantern. He walked over to her slowly, the way a man walks toward a wounded animal. He crouched in front of her. He held the lantern off to the side so the light did not hit her face directly. She was maybe 20, maybe younger. It was hard to tell. Her lip was split. There was a bruise coming up on the left side of her jaw. Her wrists had old rope marks on them going back days. Her dress was a torn calico thing that did not belong to her. He could tell that just by looking. Patchy. He had been out here long enough to know. Mescalero, most likely, from the way her hair was braided. "You speak English?" She nodded once. "Just barely." "Good. I am not going to touch you. You hear me? I am going to stand up and walk back into the house. There is a barn behind that wagon over there. It is dry. There is straw. There is a horse blanket on the rail just inside the door. You can sleep there tonight. Tomorrow we will talk about what comes next. You understand?" She nodded again. He stood up. He did exactly what he said he would do. He picked up the rifle. He walked back up to the porch. He went inside. He closed the door behind him. He stood in his own kitchen with his hands flat on the table, and he tried to figure out what he had just brought into his life. Caleb Hart was 41 years old. He had been on this land for 14 years. He had built the house himself. The barn, too. His wife Sarah had been dead 3 winters. There were no children. There had almost been one once, but she had not carried it long enough for it to count. After Sarah went, the ranch had gotten quiet in a way that he had stopped fighting. He talked to the horses. He talked to the dog. He did not go into town except for supplies. He did not go to church. He looked out the window. The lantern was still glowing on the porch where he had set it. The girl had not moved. She was still kneeling in the gravel like she had been told to. He went out again. He took her by the elbow gently. He walked her to the barn. He did not say anything else. She did not say anything either. He pointed at the blanket. He pointed at the straw. He left the lantern hanging on the post inside the door. He went back to the house and did not sleep. In the morning, the blanket was folded neatly on the rail. The girl was sitting on the porch step, waiting. He brought out 2 tin cups of coffee. He handed her one. She took it with both hands. She held it but did not drink. "What's your name?" She looked at the cup. She did not look at him. "Naya." That was the first word he had heard her say. Her voice was lower than he had expected. "Tired." "Naya." "All right. I'm Caleb." "You hungry?" She nodded. He went back inside. He came out with cornbread from yesterday and some salted bacon he had warmed in the pan. He sat down on the step beside her. Not close. About 3 feet. He set the plate between them. He let her decide whether to eat. She ate. She ate slowly at first. Then faster. He did not look at her while she ate. He drank his coffee and watched the sun come up over the eastern ridge. He had learned a long time ago that some people need to eat without being watched. When the plate was empty, she set it down between them. She looked at him for the first time in full daylight. "I will work," she said. "You don't have to. I will work. I cannot stay if I do not work." He thought about that for a moment. Then he nodded. "All right." That was how it started. There was no decision made. No conversation about what they were doing or what it meant. He simply did not turn her out, and she simply did not leave, and the next thing he knew it had been 4 days, then a week, then 2 weeks. She worked. She worked harder than he had expected. She mended the south fence where it had been sagging since spring. She moved the chickens to a better spot near the creek. She cleaned the well housing. She did not speak unless he spoke first. She slept in the barn. He offered the spare room and she shook her head. The barn was further from the road. She wanted to be further from the road. On the 8th day, the trader's horse, which had been left tied to the fence the night Caleb had run him off, wandered back to the gate looking for water. The trader did not come for it. Naya took the horse without being asked. She brushed it down. She checked its hooves. By the end of the week, the horse followed her around the yard like a dog. On the 11th day, the pastor came. His name was Reverend Bell. He drove out in his black buggy with his hat in his hand. He sat at Caleb's kitchen table and he drank the coffee Caleb poured for him, and he said what he had come to say. "People are talking, Caleb. People always talk. You have an Indian girl living on your land. She's working. Same as anybody. She sleeps in your barn. That's her choice. Caleb, I am not here to judge you. I am here because the talk is going to get worse. There are men in town who are saying things. The Harden brothers in particular. The Harden brothers say a lot of things. They say she is stolen property." Caleb set his cup down. "Property of who?" "A man named Maddox. He has been telling everyone in the saloon that he bought her off a soldier at Fort Stanton, and she ran off with one of his packs." "That's so." "That is what he is saying." "And do people believe him?" "Some do. Some don't. The sheriff will want to know." Caleb walked the pastor to the door. He thanked him for the visit. He did not invite him to stay for supper. He stood on the porch and watched the buggy roll back down the drive. Naya was standing by the corral. She had been listening. He knew she had been listening. He walked over to her. "His name is Maddox," he said. "The man who hit you." "Yes. He has been in town. He is saying you belong to him." She did not answer. "Naya, I need you to tell me the truth. Just once. So I know what we are dealing with." She looked at the ground for a long moment. Then she looked at him. "My family is dead. 3 winters ago. The fever. My uncle was the last. He died in the spring. After him there was no one. I lived with the mescalero through the summer. They had little. I was a mouth without hands they trusted. In the fall they took me to the soldier camp because the soldier there said he would give them flour for me. He did. He kept me a month. Then he sold me to Maddox for $12 and a saddle. I have been with Maddox since the second moon of last winter. I tried to run twice. The second time he caught me 3 miles from your gate. She said it all in one breath, like she had been rehearsing it, like she had been waiting for someone to ask. Caleb did not know what to say. I am not asking you to keep me, she said. I am telling you what is true. I will leave if you say leave. But I will tell you something else first. So you know. Tell me. She looked at him very steadily then. She did not look away. I cannot live without a man. Not because I want one. Because a woman alone out here is dead inside a week. I have no people. I have no horse that is mine. I have no land. I have no name that anyone here will say. If you send me away, I will be back with Maddox by the end of the month, or I will be dead, or I will be with someone worse than Maddox. That is the truth. I am not asking you to love me. I am not asking you to lie with me. I am asking you to let me stay. I will work. I will not ask for anything else. But I cannot live without a man. That is what is true. He stood there for a long time. The wind moved through the corral. The horse snuffed at the rail. You can stay, he said. That night she came in from the barn for the first time. Not into the house. Just onto the porch. She sat on the step. He brought her a cup of coffee. They did not talk. They drank the coffee and watched the dark come down over the ridge. Somewhere out past the creek a coyote called once and went quiet. Caleb felt something settle in his chest that had not been settled in 3 winters. He thought, foolishly, for 1 full minute, that the worst of it might be behind them. He heard the horses before he saw them. It was mid-morning 4 days later. He was splitting wood behind the house. Naya was hanging wash on the line. The horses came in fast. Not 1 or 2, but 4 of them, riding right up the drive without slowing at the gate. Maddox was in front. Behind him were 3 men Caleb did not know. The man on the left wore a town suit. He carried a leather case. Caleb set the axe down. He walked around to the front. Get back in the house, Naya. She did not move at first. Naya. Inside. Now. She went. The 4 horsemen pulled up at the porch. The town-suited man climbed down. He did not look at Caleb. He looked at the porch like he was measuring it. Mr. Hart, he said. My name is Wilson Brace. I am a lawyer out of Las Cruces. I am here on behalf of my client Mr. Howard Maddox, who has filed a complaint regarding stolen property. She is not property. That will be for a judge to decide. In the meantime, I have here a writ signed by Judge Patrick Hall ordering the return of the woman known as Naya pending hearing. I am required to inform you that refusal to comply will result in your arrest. He held out the paper. He did not move closer with it. He waited for Caleb to take it. Caleb did not take it. She stays. Maddox laughed. It was an ugly sound. You hear that, Brace? He says she stays. Brace did not laugh. Brace just stood there with the paper. Mr. Hart, I will give you 24 hours. The sheriff will accompany me when I return. I would strongly advise you to use those hours to think about what you are doing. He folded the paper. He put it back in his case. He climbed back on his horse. He turned the horse around without another word. Maddox did not turn his horse. Maddox stayed. You think you outsmarted me, rancher? You think because she came in here crying you got something good? She will lie to you. She will steal from you. She will run when she sees better. They all do. Get off my land. I bought her, Hart. $12 and a saddle. You want to buy her off me? $20 and she's yours. I will even sign it. Get off my land. Maddox spat. He turned the horse. He rode off after the lawyer. The 2 other men, who had not spoken once, followed. Caleb stood on the porch until the dust was gone. Then he went inside. Naya was standing in the middle of the kitchen. She had heard everything. Her hands were flat against the front of her dress, and she was holding herself very still. 24 hours, he said. Yes. They will come back with the sheriff. Yes. He sat down at the table. He pressed his palms against his eyes. He thought for a long time. When he looked up, she was watching him. "There is one way," he said. "What way?" "If you are my wife, you are not property. Not to a judge. Not to Maddox. Not to anyone. A man can own a horse. A man cannot own a wife. Not in this country. Not even in this country." She did not answer. "I am not asking for what you think I am asking for, Naya. I am asking for a name on a paper. The same way you asked me to let you stay. A name on a paper that keeps you out of Maddox's hands. After that, you live how you want to live. The barn or the spare room. The ranch or the road. Whatever you want. But not him. Never him." She sat down across from him slowly. She looked at her hands. "You do not know me. I know enough. You had a wife. Yes. You loved her. Yes. Then this is not fair to you. That is for me to decide. It is not fair to her either. To the memory of her. I have thought about that for the last hour, Naya. Sarah would not have let Maddox put a hand on you. Sarah would have brought you in herself. Sarah would have done it before I did." She was quiet a long time. When she looked up, her eyes were wet, but her face was not crying. He had not seen her cry once. He realized in that moment he probably never would. "All right," she said. "All right. But Caleb." "Yes. If you ever want it undone, you tell me. You do not have to keep it. Not after this is over. I know. Promise me." "I promise." They rode into town that afternoon. The justice of the peace was a man named Hollis who had known Caleb 15 years. He raised one eyebrow when they walked in, and he did not raise it again. He read the words. They said the words back. Hollis signed. Caleb signed. Naya put her mark on the line because she could not write. Took 11 minutes. They rode home in the dark. Neither of them spoke for the first mile. Then Caleb said, quietly, "You all right?" And she said, "I am all right." And that was the only conversation they had on the way back. If you are still riding with me on this story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Because the paper on the kitchen table was not going to be enough. Not by half. And Maddox was not finished. They came at noon the next day. The sheriff rode in first. His name was Toomey. He was a thin man with gray at his temples and a star on his chest that he wore loose because it was heavy. Behind him came Brace the lawyer with his leather case. Behind Brace came Maddox. Behind Maddox came the same two men as before, and one new one, a younger one, who looked like he wanted to be somewhere else. Caleb walked out to meet them in the yard. Naya came with him. She was a half-step behind his shoulder. She had her hands folded at her waist. "Caleb," the sheriff said. "Sheriff, you know why we are here." "I do." Brace started to open the case. Caleb held up one hand. "Before you read that paper, Mr. Brace, I have a paper of my own." He held it out. Brace took it. Brace read it. Brace read it again. Brace's face did not change at all, which is how Caleb knew he had one. "This is a marriage certificate. Signed by Hollis. Yesterday afternoon. 4 o'clock. Brace turned to the sheriff. "Sheriff Toomey, the writ I carry pertains to the return of property. A married woman is not property under the laws of this territory or any other. The writ is void. That a fact. That is a fact." Toomey nodded slowly. He looked at Caleb. He looked at Naya. He looked at Maddox. "Well, Howard, looks like you wasted a trip." Maddox had gone red. Maddox was looking at Naya like he had been struck. He swung down off the horse. He took 2 steps. "You think a piece of paper is going to—" He did not finish. The younger man, the new one, stepped forward and put a hand on Maddox's shoulder. "Howard, don't." Maddox shook him off. He kept coming. He came right at Caleb. Caleb did not have the rifle this time. The rifle was in the house. He had thought about it that morning and decided he did not want it in his hands when the sheriff arrived. Now he wondered if that had been a mistake. Maddox swung. Caleb took the punch on the side of the jaw. He went down on one knee. He came back up. He hit Maddox once in the stomach. Maddox doubled over. The sheriff was already moving. But Maddox came up faster than Caleb expected. There was a knife in his hand. A small one, pulled from his boot. He drove it into Caleb's side, below the ribs, and pulled it back out before anyone could stop him. Caleb went down for real this time. Nia did not scream. She walked past the sheriff. She walked past Brace. She walked into the house. She came back out with the rifle. She did not point it at Maddox. She held it across her body. Both hands. The way Caleb had shown her last week when she had asked, quietly one evening, whether he would teach her. She stood between Maddox and Caleb on the ground. She did not speak. She did not need to. Maddox looked at her. He looked at the rifle. He looked at the sheriff. "You see that," he said. "You see what she is. Sheriff. You see." "Howard," the sheriff said. "Drop the knife. She is going to shoot me." "She is not going to shoot you. You are going to drop the knife. Then you are going to put your hands behind your back. Because you just stabbed a man in front of 4 witnesses and the territorial marshal's office is going to want a word with you about it. Drop the knife." Maddox dropped the knife. Toomey put him in irons right there in the yard. Brace did not say a single thing. Brace folded up his case very quickly and got back on his horse. The 2 old men with Maddox did not look at each other. The younger one knelt down next to Caleb. "Pressure," he said. "Right here. Press hard." Nia was already there. She had set the rifle down on the porch. She was on her knees in the dirt with both hands pressed against the wound in Caleb's side. Her hands were red. Caleb was looking up at her. "That a good shot you didn't take," he said. "Be quiet. I am only saying. Be quiet, Caleb." He was quiet. They got him inside. The younger man, who turned out to be a hand Maddox had hired only the day before and who had taken one look at the situation and decided he did not work for Maddox anymore, knew something about wounds. He had been in the war as a boy. He helped Nia clean it. He helped her stitch it with thread from her sewing kit. He stayed 2 hours and would not take a coin for it. His name was Henry Doyle, and Caleb would remember it for the rest of his life. When Doyle was gone and the sheriff was gone, and Maddox was gone in irons down the road in the back of a wagon, it was only the 2 of them in the house. She sat by the bed. She did not say anything for a long time. He watched her from where he was lying. The pain in his side was bad, but it was the kind of bad that meant he would live. "Nia." "Yes." "Why didn't you shoot?" "Because if I had shot him, they would have taken me. They would have called it murder. The paper would not have helped me then." "You thought of that in that minute." "I thought of that the day I came here." He closed his eyes for a long moment. "You are something," he said. "So are you." She reached over. She took his hand. She held it. She did not let go for a long time. The wound healed slowly. He could not work for 3 weeks. Nia did the work. She did his work and her work and the work he had not been getting to since Sarah died. The fence on the north pasture got finished. The roof on the small shed got patched. The chickens got moved a second time to a spot she liked better. The horse that had once been Maddox's, and that they had started calling simply the horse because neither of them wanted to give it a real name yet, was now Nia's horse in every way that mattered. He watched her from the porch. He drank his coffee. He healed. The town came slowly. Reverend Bell came back first. He came on a Tuesday with his wife. His wife was a small woman named Edith who carried a basket of biscuits and did not say much for the first half hour. By the second hour she was sitting in the kitchen with Nia, showing her how she made her sourdough starter. By the third hour she had invited Nia to come to her house the following week and Nia had said yes. The sheriff came after that. Not on business. Just to sit. He had not done that in 14 years. He drank coffee on the porch. He told Caleb that Maddox had been sent to Yuma for 7 years on the assault charge alone. There were other charges coming. The lawyer Brace had quietly disappeared back to Las Cruces and no one had heard from him. Other people came. Not all of them. There were people in that town who would never come, and Caleb knew it and he did not care. But enough came. The Hardin brothers, who had started the worst of the talk, found themselves on the wrong end of a long conversation with the sheriff. After that they got quiet. They did not get friendly, but they got quiet. That was enough. The seasons turned. The first snow came light that year, just enough to put a white edge on the corral posts. Naya stood at the window the morning of it for a long time, watching. She had grown up in country that did not see snow except in the high mountains. She told him about a winter once, when she was small, when her uncle had taken her up to a place where the snow was over her head and the air was so thin it hurt her chest. She told it slowly. He had never heard her speak that long about her own life. He did not interrupt. He just listened. She moved into the spare room in the first month. Not the bedroom. The spare room. He did not ask. She did not explain. It was understood that the arrangement was not what the paper said it was, and it was understood by both of them that this was all right. In the second year of their marriage, in the spring, she moved into the bedroom. She did not say anything about it. She just brought her things in one afternoon while he was out repairing the gate. When he came back at supper, they sat across from each other at the table and they did not mention it. After supper, he washed the plates. She dried them. They went to bed. They were husband and wife in every way after that, and it had taken her 2 years to decide it, and he had not asked once, and she would tell him later that this was why she had decided it. There were no children. There almost was in the third winter. She lost it early. She did not cry then either, but he held her for a long time while she did not cry, and she let him, and it was the closest thing to grief he had ever seen from her. After that they did not try. They did not stop trying. They simply did not think about it. And the ranch was the ranch and the work was the work and the days followed one another like beads on a string. On the 7th year, they sat on the porch one evening at the end of summer. The sun was going down. The lantern that had been there since the first night, the lantern that had been moved exactly twice in 7 years, was sitting on the table between them. Caleb. Yes. Do you remember what I said to you? That day by the corral. I remember every word. I did not know what I was saying. I did not either. I thought I was asking you for a roof. I know. I was asking you for a life. I know. She put her hand on the back of his hand on the arm of the chair. He turned his hand over and held hers. The lantern was not lit. There was still enough sun. They did not need it. But it sat there between them anyway, because some things you keep because of what they were the first time, not because of what they do now. The light went down. The wind moved through the corral. A coyote called out past the creek, the same one or its grandchild, and went quiet. They sat there a long time. It was a good life. Neither of them had expected it. Neither of them had asked for it. It had started with a fist and a lantern and a girl who told the truth out loud. And it had become, against every prediction, the only life either of them could imagine now.